Okay, this video is called Internist Conversation number 10, and basically he's doing me a favor. This internist told me that he thinks my book should be structured like as a curriculum for doctors, for patients, and he just was also speaking for himself, so it was nice of him. Here's what he said to me. He said, I was looking at your book, The Poor Man's Way to Prevent Dementia. So that's this book right here, The Poor Man's Way to Prevent Dementia. This book's about 450 pages, pretty big, 8 by 10 or so. And he said he thinks this could be the WASH manual for learning basic nutrition, epidemiology, and health. And it's the same old thing, lots of illustrations. And WASH manual is like the one that internal medicine doctors use when they want to look up stuff fast. It has all the common diseases concisely summarized. So that's what he was saying this one would do well. The only issue with that is my new book, Food, Mood, and IQ, is really sort of like I took whatever was in Prevent Dementia here and I just expanded it. Food, Mood, and IQ, instead of being around 400 pages like Prevent Dementia, this one's my new book. It's about 600 pages and it's got way more illustrations. And I had, in the previous one, I had more, did I have more paintings or something? I had more just text. I try to emphasize the drawings because I think those are the most unique and the hardest material to get. The other book that he had really liked and he previously was using like a WASH manual was The Poor Man's Way to Fight Cancer. This one's really short. This one is only about 150 pages or so. And it's got the basic stuff. As more time went by, I made a lot more illustrations, went into a lot more detail. So anyways, then he was talking about, he said to me how you could structure the material. He said the way to look at patients, he said, put them into 4 groups. He said the first group would be just your typical, obese, diabetic patients. And he thinks the best book for them to start out with would be Dr. McDougall's Starch Solution. And then they could watch like my video on how to start the vegan diet. After that, the video on, how much fat in different foods and the effect of fat on blood flow and whatnot. Then he said for the next category of patients, it would be regular, typical patients, coronary artery disease, not necessarily fat. And he recommends they start with the Esselstyn book and watch the Esselstyn video. That's the best book for somebody with coronary artery disease, and that is the major concern. And then he likes the McDougall Starch Solution book next, and then my beginner vegan video. I'll actually try to put a link to my beginner vegan video right beneath this video. Then he also says a good book, an excellent book, is a China study book by T. Colin Campbell. And then he likes, if they want, for the patient, he thinks Poor Man's Guide to Cancer is a good book to read just because it's short and simple. My other books are, probably too much for most people, my more recent long ones. Okay, here we go. Now, he said if the patient has cancer, he liked my talk, the one I made for the Vegan Society of Hawaii. And that's the one where I emphasize prostate and breast cancer. And the reason for that one is Ruth Heidrich has specifically asked me to make a 1-hour talk because their format is 1 hour and to just make, as good as I could. And I actually think that's what I did. I put the best material, the most useful information all into 1 hour because I know I have a tendency to go on and on and on. I'm so interested in so many things. So that was the highest yield information in a 1 hour. The Vegan Society of Hawaii. And then, of course, T. Colin Campbell's China study book's magnificent on cancer. And then this book is also very good on cancer, covering a wider variety of studies, all the Warburg effect and all that stuff. Then afterwards, the Starch Solution book, too, because, basically get your act together on the basic diet. And he says for doctors, they're more complicated, this category of people. He says he would start them out with the Esselstyn paper and the Brownlee paper. The Brownlee paper is the best paper ever written on diabetes by Michael Brownlee. Of course, they can also read the Esselstyn book, watch the Esselstyn videos. And then again, he likes them to get the Starch Solution pretty quick, to get the basics of the vegan diet. And then he likes this as the most concise entry point to my knowledge about nutrition and health. And he's kind of telling me I should write a short version of how to start the vegan diet, something simple that could be given to patients who don't have much experience with all this stuff. So I might get around to that. I'm just so busy. Then he likes Starch Solution for them as well. He also thinks all the doctors should read the Richard Moore book. The Richard Moore book is the high blood pressure solution. It's a magnificent book. The one about the plasma membrane ion pumps and a good introduction to cellular calcium management. How does a cell regulate cytoplasmic calcium? That's a very important point for understanding physiology. It's sort of foundational. These were a few of his vids he thought were good for patients. The stuff on hypertension with the Richard Moore information, the concept of endothelial glycocalyx, which really goes with red blood cell zeta potential stuff, how all that stuff interacts and why fat just messes it up. Understanding the mitochondria inhibitors, because mitochondria inhibitors, once you get that, then you know what to do. So many things that inhibit mitochondria. Okay, what else? The amount of fat in food, so people know that, what to eat, what to avoid. All roads lead to Rome. That's when you start getting into neurophysiology. That's where people are interested in preventing dementia stuff. It's a little more of a complex topic. Again, you like the Hawaii, Vegan Society Hawaii video. He also said maybe I should create a playlist of, I'm trying to get myself moved here, a playlist of where patients should start. I already do have playlists for beginners. So you just go into the playlist links and you can click on playlists for beginners. He's also saying that he thinks the beginner videos should be short, never more than 30 minutes. 20 minutes probably better. He prefers when the videos are broken up into smaller pieces, like 20-minute videos, 15, 20 minutes, or 30 at the most, rather than these 1 hour long videos. He said it's just more interesting, like a cliffhanger or a book or a novel published in individual chapters, and it's kind of fun to come back to it. So I think he has a little more here. Let's see here. Okay. Then he said his favorite videos, he hasn't watched all of them, but he loved the endothelial glycocalyx, because they don't learn that. Internists don't learn that. They don't learn what atherosclerosis is. They don't learn what causes diabetes, what causes hypertension. All this mitochondria inhibitor, I'm the one that figured out all that stuff by looking it all up. It's not in any of the biochemistry textbooks. All the neurophysiology stuff, okay, more stuff. Then again, he's pushing me to do a wash manual. Some concise book that a doc could read, really for docs. A wash manual book would be for docs. A starter vegan book would be for patients. Maybe I'll do that. I have to get excited about a project because it takes a lot of energy. And then the way I write a book is I basically write a book like a maniac. What I mean by that is I look at my schedule for the next couple of months and I say to myself, do I have time? Like for this book, 600-page book. I had to write the darn thing in about 2.5, 3 months. I just crank. And when I write a book, what I do is I'm a bit of a maniac. I will get up, like at 6:30 a.m. and I will crank on that book till 6:30 at night. Now, I'll take a little break to do some laundry, but I really don't break much. I know I have to finish the book because, for example, I had the moving because of divorce, so I knew once I started to move and pack to move, I would probably not have a computer for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I wanted to have the book done before that because you get a momentum going, a sense of what's in all the chapters, how they flow together and everything. And you really want to be done. You don't want to wait 2 weeks intervening. Then you almost have to refresh your mind with all the details of how it flows together so you don't repeat stuff too much and all that. So I have to go really fast. And that's why, too, I would redo my book more. It's not as elegant as I want it to be. But, if I didn't do it the way I do it, I wouldn't get it done at all. Okay, and then he says these are chapters he thinks are important for a wash manual-like book. He sees this Vegan Renaissance book, the Medical Reformation Vegan Renaissance Bible. This is a bit of a monster. This book is 770 pages. They're not as big. If you look at the size of the book, it's not as big in terms of this was 8 by 10. This was a little bit smaller. This was something like 7 by 10 or something on the page size. But eventually, someday, if I ever get time, I'd like to redo that. Because I did other things, like top 50 books, summary of all of Dr. McDougall's work. And I'd like to combine them all into one book. And then I previously had written this book, How to Reduce the Risk of Chronic Disease. And this is the one where I went through the most biochemistry. But I didn't have the ability to draw at that time. But there's tons of biochemistry in there. Not tons, but there's a lot of things that I think are interesting that I would like to eventually get into one book or have a 2-part set. Kind of like he called it the equivalent of a Cecil's or a Harrison's, massive summary of internal medicine. Like here it is. I basically think that's what I've done, and he gets it too. I basically rewritten the internal medicine books for the common chronic diseases and their relationships to nutrition. Okay, so here he is saying, yeah, make a poor man's book, 160 pages as a wash manual equivalent, and make some type of big reference book. Selfish request by me, he says, because I want one. He wants me to do this for him. Organize my material for him. But it basically, he's like a voice for all regular doctors. And I do think it's good that I should make something specifically for them that will relate more easily to their clinical practice. I still have I got a lot of stuff I'd like to do with book writing. I just don't have that much time. So anyways, I thought that was very nice of him, and that helped me to organize my thoughts on that.